Okay, good afternoon and good morning from my side. So today we are having a live interview with Åsa, a Swedish liberal politician. We will be talking about the festival of PFDJ in Swedish, and then also her article on the Swedish newspaper and other Swedish issues. And then at the end, we will take a couple of questions from the public. First and foremost, I would like to welcome you to Erisat. And many of my fellow Eritreans, they were asking me to thank you for standing up for justice, for standing with the Eritrean people. So my thanks is on behalf of me, on behalf of Team Erisat, and on behalf of the Eritrean people, on behalf of the oppressed people inside and outside Eritrea. So thank you very much. And then I just want to give you the floor for you first, and then we'll play music, and then we'll do the interview, okay?
Okay, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to support. I think actually you are the ones who are doing the big job. All the people in the diaspora who stand up for democracy and work to make things better. So we all fight together, and together we'll manage somehow.
All right, thank you, Åsa. So as I say, I'm going to play this nice Eritrean song, which literally express our fight for justice. And then after that, we're going to come back and have all this conversation. And I'm sure that so many people will follow us. And as I say, we'll give a chance, a couple of questions at the end of this interview. So let's play the music, okay?
دمي بغبرة كم زي ما نسيت اسمعني كلام ما فسست نسيت نسيت بيت نسيت
Okay, I'm on mute. All right. So I would like to welcome back our viewers, and then also again thank you, Åsa, for coming again on my show and on Erisat. So we're gonna start our interview. I would like to start this interview by giving you an opportunity to introduce yourself to all of us. We know you recently. Probably a lot of people in Sweden, they know you, a lot of Eritreans, but would like to give you this opportunity also to introduce yourself to many of the Eritreans, both here, also inside Eritrea.
Okay. Hello, I'm Åsa Nilsson Söderström. I'm a local politician in Stockholm. And recently I got a lot of new Facebook friend requests from Eritreans, which makes me very happy. Eritrea has been a country dear to my heart for 20 years or so. As many in the liberal family in Sweden, we knew this fate of David Isaak, and that made us realize how the situation in Eritrea is. And I've been following your fight for democracy for some time. What happened recently is that PFDJ tried to arrange a festival in my country, in my district. So I tried to stop it. And I wrote an article which was very widely shared. And the result was actually that at least they could not rent the house that belonged to Stockholm City, which is good. But unfortunately, the festival is still going on. But we caused them some trouble. And I hope we can cause them even more trouble. So they choose not to come back next year.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, I was also scrolling down through your Facebook page and your Twitter page while I am preparing for this interview. And I was able to see that you have a good understanding of the situation in Eritrea. As you say, a lot of Swedish people has a good understanding because of David Isaak. But what makes you sympathize more with the suffering of the Eritrean people other than that of the David Isaak issue?
I think being a politician is just something I do in my spare time. My day-to-day work is I work for democracy support. So I support civil society organizations across the world who work for more democracy in their countries. And through that job, I've come in contact with Eritreans across the world. And always, of course, working in the background, but trying to transfer the knowledge we have and also trying to spread information in Sweden. I work for an organization called Swedish International Liberal Center, and we were the first ones to publish the fate of David Isaak and bringing it to the public. And we made this book about, 15 years ago. And then when the book had 10 years, we said we want to make a follow-up. So we found a good writer, Paul Friges, and so I coordinated the work behind this book. And we decided at that time, in 2015, it was too narrow to speak about David Isaac because the problem is so much larger. We need to, and at that time also we had a lot of Eritrean refugees coming to Sweden. We heard their stories. We wanted to give them a platform to speak. So we covered different topics on Eritrea, the refugees, the prisons, the connections to Sweden in the past, and so on. So it's a dear country.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's what I can see, because 2 books, probably more than a lot of Eritreans doing, for the fighting for justice for their people. That's I can say for sure. But, as you say, not only as a politician, not only also looking for Eritreans, but also for other people and suffering, probably always stand for justice. But, what do you think is unique about the Eritrean people? What do you think is unique about the regime in Eritrea comparing to many? There are a lot of dictators in the world, but, so many people describe the regime in Eritrea as one of the worst. What is your assessment?
My assessment is that it's one of the worst, and that's also what the Freedom House, the Swedish Videm Institute, Human Rights Watch, and the others agree on. It's one of the worst, and that's based on the fact that there's no free media at all. There's loads of people in prison, and people are being very badly handled there. And there's no rule of law, no elections. There's very few things that reminds of democracy in Eritrea, and also the military service, of course. And I think it's. We also see how bad it is by how many people flee Eritrea and what kind of risks these people are willing to take to flee. It tells us it's a very bad situation inside Eritrea.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Today we are more focusing on the issue of the festival organized by PFDJ, which you involved heavily to try to stop it. But first, how do you hear about it? And then.
I've known about it for quite some time. The festival has taken place, I think, for 25 years now. But what was different this year? There was a pause for the COVID, so it didn't take place in 2 years. And during that time, I became active in local politics. So when I saw that the festival was happening again, and I was in the position to say something, and I also had Eritrean friends saying that we have been fighting against it so long, but it doesn't help. Nobody listens to us, which is extremely unfair because you have a better reason and a better arguments and are stronger. I think you're better bearers of this message than I am. But I thought if I can help, I will try to. And I did.
I mean, the regime in Eritrea is causing a lot of suffering, not only to the Eritrean people, and I'm sure also to the Swedish people, because one of your fellow citizen, journalist David Issa, has been languished in prison for more than 20 years right now. I mean, how dare do you think is this regime to come to Sweden and then have all this kind of stuff like festival? And then the reason for that is also only to raise money for his warmongering and all this bad stuff. What does the Swedish people think of all this? The regime.
I think actually most people are not aware, and we need to make them aware, because this is absolutely horrible. That we claim to be a democratic country, people flee here to be safe, and then we don't stop the dictatorships when they come here. And it's not only that they make a festival, that maybe I could live with if they don't get money, but they are harassing people who live here. Swedish people who have Eritrean descent are harassed by the embassy. We have to put a stop to that. It's very important. I think the social democratic government has been far too weak in this issue.
Yeah, I mean, last week you have written an article, as you say, it was published widely, and then many Eritreans also noticed your article, and it was widely shared with the Eritrean community as well. And then, what was the reason behind your article? Do you think that your article is going to get the coverage that it gets? And at the same time, how was the response, from the Eritrean community, both from the justice-seeking camp and at the same time the PFDJ supporters? We know that there are a lot of PFDJ supporters. They harass not only Eritreans, also harass, the foreigners, like people like you, actually, who gave them another home to live freely and safely.
Yeah, I had a great response from the Eritrean community. I had so many kind support letters and messages, and it was just amazing. And then, of course, there was hate too. And I think anybody who works for democracy in Eritrea knows what kind of hate you get. So it's just to ignore, I think. And there was also a reply in the newspaper, basically a page on how stupid and naive I was. So it's there's no real arguments. But from the Swedish people, there was not much reaction at all, actually. So that makes me even more convinced that we need to get the issue of Eritrea in the newspapers to make more people in Sweden aware about the situation. Because I'm sure if they were aware what is happening inside Sweden against Eritreans, then they would also want to stop it.
So when did you decide to write that article, and what was the reasoning behind because as you say, you've been doing this one for so long, but and then probably
I was actually on holidays in Italy, and I was chatting with a friend of mine, and he sent me the poster of the regime. And I was like, oh, you have to stop it. And he's like, nobody listens to us. And then I took the computer to the pool and wrote the article, basically. And then, of course, I sent it to another paper first, but then the second paper accepted it. So I was happy.
I would like to really appreciate, taking the time from your vacation. I know that family time is important for so many people, but, from that important family time, taking your time to stand for justice, to stand for our people. I couldn't have words to express my gratitude to you on behalf of my people. That's really important, because so many Eritreans, if they have to do something what you have done, or even like a small thing that you have done, we wouldn't have all this issue at all. So this should be an example for so many of us, because what you did is an example to so many people. So I really wanted to say thank you, because this is something unique. Okay.
No, thank you. But I think it's the human. You have the moral. If you see dictatorship, if you see people who are suffering, and if you can do something about it, you have to try. And then, but maybe what I'm feeling, because now I have, of course, as a politician, I talk to different people to get different information. So I have contacts with many different Eritrean opposition activists, and I see that maybe a lot of them are doing a really hard work, and they're doing great work. And it's actually, you shouldn't say it's my article who made all the difference, because they have been fighting for 20 years. So without that fight, we wouldn't have the results. But I think maybe we will need to work closer together. We need more Eritreans in politics who get to know the ways of the Western democracy and can influence directly. And we need to work together, political parties and civil society. And also, I see that there's a lot of mistrust between different groups in the Eritrean diaspora. So maybe we need to build trust and organize ourselves better. I think we can have greater results then.
I think you are right. If you want to change, you have to get involved. I think Eritreans in diaspora, a lot of Eritreans are by now have dual citizenship, and then they can get involved in politics of the host country, and they probably can make more and bigger changes, or also can impact the society and bigger. And this is something that we as Eritreans should think. And as you said, you are like encouraging Eritreans also to get involved in Sweden, and hopefully some people, they will start doing something, because we have very talented. We have very dedicated Eritreans and all over the world. And I would say we're not much engaged in the host country politics. So,
no, but it's important.
Yes.
Because you live here and you're, I mean, most people are also Swedish citizens. So they are Swedish. They should influence Swedish society as much as I do, or try to do.
I agree. I agree. So, as you said, a lot of the Swedish people, even though they know that there is a brutal dictator in Eritrea, but they weren't like much into the issue of having the festival in Sweden. That's one reason that you were writing this article. Given that, what do you want people to know about PFDJ, not only in Sweden, also in the world, just to be, on your level, of, so that they can do stuff what you are doing right now?
Yeah, I think you need to know that the PFDJ is the only political party in Eritrea. They rule the country by very harsh hands. And they also try to rule all the Eritreans who have fled by their embassies. There are spies in different countries, like in Sweden, like in Canada, Netherlands. The embassies and the party tries to keep their power over the people who choose to leave. And they do that by harassment and by taking taxes and, making life difficult if you want to have your family safe, if you want to keep your property in Eritrea and so on. So it's, we called it in the book that Paul Frigates wrote, he called it a borderless harassment. It doesn't respect the borders. So we all need to stand up for democracy in our own countries and across the world.
As you say, this government has been harassing even people when they left the country. And we know that, there is this illegal taxation going on all over where Eritreans are living. There is a 2% taxation, and in so many countries, they deem to be illegal. And some countries, actually, they banned the government from collecting this 2% taxes from their citizens. What do you think about that? Is there anything that has, or are you planning to do about this type of thing?
Actually, as I mentioned, I'm not the only liberal fighting for Eritrea. We had Olle Schmidt and Cecilia Wikström in the European Parliament, and in the Swedish Parliament, we have a member called Fredrik Malm, who every year writes a motion on that we have to stop this 2% taxation. But unfortunately, he didn't get the support yet. Hopefully, the next government will do better. We have elections this fall, so
okay, yeah. Yeah, we will come to the handling of the Swedish government to the Eritrean government. I have a question with regard to that one. But first, I would like to ask you about Dawit Isaak. One of your fellow countrymen, Dawit Isaak, along with other 11 journalists and high-ranking government officials, has been disappeared since 2001, and no one knows about their whereabouts until today. And how do you feel about it? And can you also share us how that the Swedish general public feel one of their fellow citizens been languishing for more than 20 years? Nobody knows where thereabouts is. And we know that, the Swedish government has been trying to work with the regime in Eritrea, but, the regime has done nothing to give any information even to the Swedish government. How does the people feel? And how do you feel about it?
It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And also seeing videos about and hearing testimonies on how the Eritrean prisons are, it makes my heart break to hear and think about that Dawit has spent 20 years there. No, and I think most people feel the same. It's been very, very publicized in Sweden since he was a journalist. A lot of journalist organizations have supported his case, and it's well known. But the government has failed. I think also maybe with a dictatorship like Eritrea, I don't think the diplomacy works. If you want to, and Dawit is not the only one in prison. There's thousands of them. And I think the best chance to get them free is to get rid of the dictator. because he doesn't have any will or ambition to make the country more democratic.
Yeah, I mean, the solution is, as you say, removing the dictator is, the only solution, because again, there are thousands of Dawit Isaaq in Eritrea. There are thousands of people languishing in prisons, and a lot of people who are dying leaving the country. I mean, everything that you are mentioning is very horrible. But what does the Swedish government has to play in making this happen? Because literally, I would say that, as a society, also as a government, they should fight for one of their own. I mean, I feel that, he's just like you or like any other Swedish, and then countries have an obligation to fight for their people. What should be the role of the Swedish government and the society in general?
Yeah, I don't know. And it's also very hard as a Swedish citizen to know what has been done, because it's all in the secrecy of diplomacy. But I think the silent and the secret diplomacy has not worked. So a new strategy needs to be taken forward.
Yeah, I agree.
My party is always like, we are like one of the parties who made Sweden democratic, and we always fight for democracy in our foreign policies. We are very ideological that way. And I think that's the only way forward for people, that to make sure that people elect their own leaders, that there's respect for freedom of speech and freedom of assembly. And this is the way you make a society go forward and be a society that the people want to stay in.
Yeah, given the disappearance of Dawit Isaaq and the brutality of the Eritrean regime, and as you have been saying that the regime is not only harassing people inside, also outside, also foreigners like you. So given that, many Eritreans believe that the Swedish government hasn't done enough to punish the Eritrean regime. Why do you think the Swedish government approach is very soft to the regime in Eritrea? I mean, we know that the diplomacy can be silent, but for sure they weren't even also doing much, because a lot of countries do. There's many ways of punishing the government. It could be a sanction against the government. Could be trying to tighten up the diplomatic screws. It could be like expelling diplomats. So many things can be done, but a lot of
if I was the foreign minister,
yes, what would you do? Okay.
Politician, I would not accept that people are harassed in Sweden by a foreign embassy. The Eritrean embassy should be closed. That's my opinion.
Yes,
and of course there needs to be investigations and everything. But from what I have seen, there is a lot of there's a lot of proof. Videos, phone tapping, and that's all the proof that's needed. But we need to make it public now, because it's well known in the Swedish Eritrean minority, but it's not well known in the Swedish public. So I hope that some journalists will listen and really investigate this, make it public, and the journalists can ask the questions to the foreign minister. What is she doing really to stop this?
Yeah, I think it's not only one government. It's been almost 20 years. I haven't followed the Swedish politics, because I'm live very far away from it.
Yeah.
But I assume so that there must be a couple of governments, for the last 20 years, and then I feel that it might not be 1 or 2%, but more people have failed. Not only Dawit Isaaq, but failed for democracy. Democracy is about looking for justice. It's not about even one person. It's not about Dawit Isaaq, but it's just about the moral of the society. Yeah, so why do you think all this government for the last 20 years failed?
Well, if you ask me, I would say because the liberals are so small, but maybe not so objective. No, but the liberals always had a very ideological foreign policy, and we always stand up for democracy. I think that the bigger parties are not so ideological. They are more hunting for power.
More power grabbing. Yeah, and I can understand. Politicians are always looking for power. They try to hang on to that in as much as they can. So
you need the power to make change, but also there has to be limits to what you want to do.
That is true. So with regard to this festival, even though you have publicly called for cancellation of the event, and also many Eritrean justice seekers campaign as well, but the Swedish authorities are allowed to carry on the event. And I'm sure that the authorities know the festival has nothing to do with the cultural event. Rather, it was a fundraising event to benefit the warmongering regime in Eritrea. I don't know if you have seen it, but all these people coming from Eritrea, they were like in military camouflage. They were just were like not even entertaining any cultural things. They were saying, we're gonna fight, we're gonna go to war, all these things. And I'm sure the Swedish authorities also see this one, because it is happening on their soil. But why do you think
I haven't been...
Go ahead.
We are democracy, Sweden, and we stand up. We have really strong rules for freedom of speech. We have the freedom of assembly and freedom to demonstrate, and I'm proud of that. So I didn't call for the complete cancellation of the. I asked that they should not use the house that belongs to Stockholm City, because we are a democratic organization. We only rent to people who stand up for democracy. But in Sweden, you have the right to say things that are not comfortable, things that are awful, but you still have the right to say them. So we also have, for example, a crazy or dangerous man burning Qurans. Awful thing, absolutely horrible. But he has the right to do it, because you have the freedom of speech. You can show what you want, but that you can say what you want doesn't mean that everybody else should keep quiet. So what we need to do is to speak up against these people and to be very clear, and also to use the laws we have in Sweden to make their life as difficult as possible. So in the Eritrean festival, for example, they should never be allowed to rent a place that belongs to the public. They should, of course, not be allowed to sell alcohol illegally, which seems to be happening. So we reported them to the police, we reported them to the tax authorities, we reported them to the Stockholm City, who has some control functions. So we really need to make their life very difficult in all the ways we can, but legally. But I will not take away their right to say what they want. And also, I think this festival has a lot of people attending it. Some of them are certainly supporters of the regime, and that's awful. But I also think there's Eritreans who live in Scandinavia. They want to have a few nice days with their kids, going to see to have fun, listen to music, meeting their countrymen. So we shouldn't be harsh on the people who go there, because I think many people go there just to give their kids a good day out. And really what we should do is to arrange a democratic festival next year, then people can choose.
Yes, I think that's also another alternative. As you say, I completely agree. Swedish is a democratic country, and then people have the right to say whatever they want to say. There is a freedom of expression. But in this regard, I think the regime in Eritrea come to Sweden on the soil of a democratic country. It's just basically to raise money for all the stuff is happening in Eritrea. I mean, I wouldn't even have opposing if it was like for cultural purpose, if it was like for bringing people in together, also doing all the good stuff. But what we see, probably maybe you don't, hear Tigrinya or listen, but, what we see was all the people coming in from Eritrea, they were preaching, like hate, they were preaching, like about the war. They were doing all the propaganda of the regime in Eritrea. So that was the reason that makes a lot of people, this shouldn't happen in a democratic nation. But for the fact that you mentioned, everybody should have also the freedom of expressing yourself, the freedom of assembly. I don't want to take away from my fellow Eritreans, regardless they were supporting them or not, if they were doing it the right way. So the question is, we know that, or I would say that the Swedish authorities, they know that this isn't much about the cultural event. It's much about the, PFDJ propaganda. At least, as you have said, they could have make it smaller. They could have also make some restriction. They could have said also, we're not going to let you bring in this type of people, or we're not going to allow you to do warmongering in our soil. You can have a clean cultural event, but they could have done some work. That's what I believe. So
I think so too. And also, I think if somebody needs to research how the money that is paid, usually in cash or to Swish, which is a phone payment in Sweden, how is that money reported? How is it taxed? I really think there's a lot of questions there. So I hope that the Swedish authorities will take their responsibility and check that. Sometimes it's a bit slow in democracies, because you cannot just forbid people to say what they want, and we don't want to, because maybe in the end somebody will forbid what we want to say. So we want to have the free speech, but we have red lines. We have red lines on hate speech, for example, and so on.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's not fair, or also even not fair for us to ask, a democratic nation to silence any people, because that's what we are asking for in our country. Because we were silenced. We weren't allowed to have an assembly. We weren't allowed to have freedom of speech. So I completely agree that, the Swedish government is affording all these privileges to our fellow Eritreans, both supporters and pro-democracy. But, the only issue that comes is, the regime is just away from that. And then something has need to be done. And that's what you were doing.
And that's also where the people who are working for democracy in Eritrea and Sweden, it's great people. They are doing very hard. But they need to work together. They need to attract more people to be stronger. If you need to organize well to this is the first step.
Yes,
and to be honest, to stop a festival, it's not the most important thing, but it's the first step. And the next step should be to make sure that there's no harassment in Sweden. That's and we need to
this is a big step.
Continue the fight and organize ourselves and achieve bigger goals. Make more people join the democratic force.
Yeah, indeed. This is and it's the first, not the last. And I'm sure you always learn from what you did. I'm sure it's going to be much better and stronger next year. A lot of people will learn what they did and what they should better. And I'm sure that, we will do much better if we are joining hands with democratic forces like you, and also other people looking for justice. But as you...
I want to say, I might have sounded too critical there. I'm really, really thankful to the people, the Swedish Eritrean people, who have shared so many texts and videos and information and knowledge with me, because without them, I could not have written the article. So it's the background work that they have done for years and years that makes the difference.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. But, as you have also said, there were a lot of opposition coming for your article. There was also an article written to, just against an argument against your article. And even some accuses your call for cancellation of the event was undemocratic, denying the right for assembly, and it's against cultural events. And what is your response to this one? Is that what you were calling for, partial cancellation of the event? And then also, as you say,
they have never asked for full. I asked for them not to use the houses of Stockholm City, which is also in the policy of Stockholm City. It's we have decided that there should be no hate speech. There should be only democratic organizations working in our common houses, and that's what we managed to change as well.
Yeah. So, what do you think of that acquisition?
I mean, it's not undemocratic. I mean, it's not undemocratic to say that somebody's wrong. That's me using my freedom of speech.
So some people, they were saying that you are like against multi-culture, against like festivity. Would you support that an event organized by democratic forces, an event like this, big festival? Would you support stuff like that?
Of course, that would be great fun. I would be there.
You would be there. You would be dancing.
Absolutely.
Good.
No, I mean, immigration has made Sweden strong. We would not be the same country without immigrants, and I think we should be thankful for all the work that immigrants are doing in Sweden and for making our country richer and a nicer place to live.
Okay, yeah. I mean, a lot of people were asking this question is, so many of Eritreans, there are a lot of asylum seekers in Sweden, a lot of Eritreans, as you already know it. And then in any country, if you are going to seek an asylum, you claim that you have a threat of persecution in your host country, that you need protection also from the new country. And then you have to prove it. You've been imprisoned or whatsoever. There were like different countries have different immigration laws. But most countries believe that if you claim a threat of persecution from your country, and then you cannot go back to your home country, or you cannot do any business also with the government of that country, because you literally say that government is going to kill you. But so many people on this event, I would say a lot of them were asylum seekers who has been said that they were persecuted by the Eritrean government. So what do you make up of those type of people? I mean, a lot of people, they think that, they were lying to the immigration officers. They were lying to the host country that they have a threat of persecution. And then now going back and making peace with the devil. And some even go as far as signing a regret letter and then supporting the region, which, literally were saying on the contrary when they apply for their asylum. So what do you think about this?
It's morally not good, of course. It's morally bad, but at the same time, I know that there's a lot of pressure on these people from the Eritrean regime. Like, if you want to keep your house in Eritrea, if you want your family to be safe, you better sign these letters. So we should not be too harsh with people who are under that kind of oppression and harassment. But of course, it's wrong. It's wrong. And I hope... Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
But it's not... I'm not sure if it's legally wrong or not in Sweden. I think not. And also, if you lived in Sweden for a while and you have a permanent residency here, or many people are even Swedish residents because they've been here for ages. Then if you're a Swedish resident or a Swedish citizen, then you're a Swedish citizen. Shouldn't be any difference from another citizen.
Yeah, I mean, last year there was an event similar to this one. I mean, maybe it's not last year, maybe a couple of years ago in Norway. And then there were all these asylum seekers been partying with the PFDJ leader. And then the immigration officers were investigating the issue. And then they found that, a lot of those Eritreans were lying, for the immigration officers for claiming that they have persecution threat. And then after the fact that they were also supporting the region. So, I mean...
No, if you get your residency because you lied, then it should be taken away, of course. If you don't have the reason to stay, and if you lie, then it should be taken away.
Do you think that the Swedish immigration authority should investigate events like this to see if people were lying to the government?
I mean, they cannot... You mean if they should register everybody who goes there and then check
not register? I mean, you cannot do that, obviously. But let's say if somebody reported, about stuff like that, about people who've been lying, or also,
I think we should be we should be thorough when somebody asks for asylum. We should be thorough and check all the reasons, and also a place like Migrationsverket, who makes the assessment, they need to be very well aware that dictatorships do infiltrate their organizations as well. We had cases where what do you call that in English? The people who translate, the translators. So if somebody comes from Eritrea, wants to apply for asylum, and they don't speak Swedish, they have a translator. And we had several cases, I think, where these translators were actually linked to the regime. And this is what I mean, that we need to make sure that the Eritrean dictatorship does not get to infiltrate in Sweden.
Yeah. I
so
mean,
this is a bigger issue than the festival, I would say.
It is a bigger issue because when you come in a host country, a new democratic country, and you were saying that the government in Eritrea is harassing your family, and then you are threatened, you cannot live, because I'm an asylum seeker in the United States as well. When I come here because I have a threat of persecution, and then I did, and that's why I asked for an asylum, and I got the request was approved, and so many people does. And then a lot of Eritreans did it, they don't lie, because that's what happened to them, including me. But some people also, as you say, they can come to infiltrate, or they come lying to the immigration officers, not only in Sweden, but all over the world. And then they become agents of the government in the host countries. And those are the people who are harassing, actually, the people in the host country. So,
and then you need to be thrown out. I mean, if you're harassing your countrymen, and if you're working for a dictatorship inside Sweden, then you need to leave.
Yeah, because without them, I mean, this thing cannot. I mean, literally, one thing that aches my stomach is when you come to whatever the country is, and then the country afforded you the privilege to live freely, to work freely, to have all the privilege of a democratic nation, and then you start acting against that nation, harassing the citizens of the nation, harassing your fellow citizens, also doing all the dirty works of the government. And I'm sure that there are like hundreds, if not thousands, of people in so many countries doing the same thing. And I would say that the immigration authorities may have to do their part to weed out, and then, as you say, maybe throw them back where they belong, because they say that we love our country, the government in Eritrea is democratic, the government in Eritrea is doing all the good things, and then go back and live there, right?
Yeah, but not if you're a Swedish citizen, because if you have your citizenship, you do. That's a very important limit for me. It's we don't make any difference between those who were born Swedish or those who received Swedish citizenship later on.
What about if you are lying to get your Swedish citizenship?
It's difficult.
Okay, all right. Yeah, as I say, I'm really happy for coming out, and then we're gonna give, if you don't mind, we're gonna give a couple of opportunity for the public to ask, if you are okay with it, maybe 2-3 questions.
Of course.
And then we're gonna call out today. So our listeners or viewers, and you guys I can receive a call via my phone number, and then I'm gonna put it right here, also via Facebook, and then you can ask directly the question to Åsa, a Swedish liberal politician who has been standing the PFDJ. It's not, only last month, but it's been doing it for 20 years. And I'm glad to know that. And I'm glad
in the background.
And,
supporting people who do the big work, not, I'm only being background.
I mean, that's where the unsung hero comes, like people who does in the background, without being noticed. I think that's what I give a lot of credit to, because when you're on the front, people know you, and then people, also give you the credit. But when you're doing stuff for 20 years on the background, actually, that's where the credit deserves, as far as I am concerned. So let me give a phone number for our viewers to ask questions, and then we will continue, okay? So, until we get, people calling to ask questions, maybe they are shy about calling it, but we will wait. I already put my phone number and then also my Facebook information if they want to call us, okay? So let me see. I think I got a call. Let me see. Hello? Do you have a question, Philly?
Yes, I can ask. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
First of all, for coming and joining us. I have one question. So, like you said, one point that you mentioned was like, it's good to have a festivity, it's cultural event. I'm really happy that fellow Eritreans do this. The only caveat is that Eritrea has no internet and there's no passing of information. That's what Erisat is trying to do. So in case like this, if some warmongering propaganda is being done in a democratic country with a lot of people in it, the people in Eritrea who are seeking change think that the fellow citizens living in the foreign country has forsaken them. It sounds like they are all supporting the government, because if you collect like a few thousands in a compound where they don't really represent the country, but you may give an impression that, okay, let's go to war, let's finish the TPLF regime, let's finish this game, let's die there, give up your life. When you are actually comfortably living in a foreign country and you keep singing and preaching and, all the crazy war propaganda, when not even the nail of your teeth has been participated in that war, how does it sound? It's just a cultural event, because cultural events supposed to be a civic organized event, not like the regime sent, like the guy who was coming in the airport actually wore his military clothing. You can find it in the YouTube. He wore a military clothes, and he's been saying, I'm saying the truth, we're going to win this war, and all of this stuff. So maybe, one of the things that Eritrean foreign living people are suffering is that whatever being spoken in the local language is not being seen seriously by the government who's hosting such event. Because it's in a different language, we have this barrier, and maybe we're not doing a good job in interpreting it, and no one hears to whatever we're going through, even including like filtering hate speech in social media. Everyone gets abused to even say he is right. So this kind of stuff is really hurting us, and so we're seeking a change. So I wouldn't want to see it lightly as if it's like, oh, it's just having a day or fun, like a cultural event, because warmongering with a military clothes in Sweden and pitching and preaching as if everything is okay gives a very wrong signal to the people inside the country. It has to be seen seriously. It's not a cultural event. There is no cultural dress at all. Watch out all the videos. It was just a military warmongering song. No, not even a single Eritrean cultural dress or anything of that kind. So, I mean, I'm not, I wish I can be like a part of any kind of festival, because I miss my countrymen, I miss the music. Everyone does. The only difference is this is not of that type. So it may not seem so for a foreigner, but for the one who knows the local language, you know exactly what's going on. So I hope I made it clear. Thank you so much for your time.
So what's the question?
No, but I really would like to reply. Thank you so much for, I really hope that I was not unclear. I think this is an awful so-called festival, and I'm completely aware it's meant to be a place to collect money for the Eritrean regime. It's a lot of war propaganda, and it's propaganda for the regime. It's an awful activity. But then, as many dictators, they know that to bring people there, you cannot only sell the propaganda. They also put up the rides for the kids and the lotteries and all the fun things. So because that's what dictators do. Bread, even the old Romans said that they wanted to give bread and the show to the people. And that's how you keep people loyal, and it's awful. And I'm working against it.
All right, thank you, Åsa. And then I have another caller right here, Dr. Mogos. Okay, Dr. Mogos, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
All right, so go ahead and ask your question to Åsa.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming up and explaining and trying to be on the side of the justice seeker or those who are looking for justice, democracy, and peace. I really appreciate for that. I'm hoping in every corner of the world to be more voices like you, so that we can make a difference or change the journey of democracy anyway. My name is Dr. Mogos. I'm from Canada. My question is not for you. If the government of Swedish or anywhere, they perceive it is a festive of culture. So if you, but in most of the places, say in Canada, we have two registered community organizations. One represents the justice seeker, the other one represents for the regime, which is also the community is divided, not only politically, but also the culture we show. So therefore, if there is a way, in Sweden, for next year, for example, those who organize, either to came, is to organize from both sides. Starting both sides, then it shows that is a commitment. They will show the case for our culture. Otherwise, if this comes from one side, it's going to be another problem. Will you have any way just to address to Parliament that kind of system, so that when they apply to do some events, so who the organizers are they from both camps, so that it would be accommodating for all of us? I thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Mogos.
Okay, I think that's maybe not so much for me to answer, but for the Eritrean justice seekers in Sweden. But my guess is that they would not want to cooperate. And if I would have been in their situation, I wouldn't have liked to cooperate with a regime organization. If I understood you, because did I understand your question correctly, that you wanted the two, the regime loyal organization and the democratic organizations to organize the festival together?
Yes. The question was, should the government in Sweden put some sort of pressure for, to make it like all-inclusive festival rather than that one-sided festival?
No, the Swedish government should throw out the people, the harassing people.
The harassing people. They shouldn't allow them at all. Got it. Okay, we have another caller, so let me get. Okay. So the caller is gone. Let me see. We have another caller here, I guess. We call him, okay? Give me 1 second. Looks like from 9697. I would love to hear from fellow Eritreans who live in Sweden, because Åsa is representing the Swedish Eritrean community. So this will be, an ideal situation for Eritreans in Sweden to come and ask or anything, if you guys have any comments or anything, because literally, the Eritreans who live in Sweden should have more questions or comments about this issue right now, more than others do. So please, if there are people who are watching right now who live in Sweden, take this opportunity to at least say thank you to our guests today. So let me get this phone call and then we'll continue, okay? Okay, hello?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead and then introduce your name and then ask your question, okay?
Okay, so my name is Dahla. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
My English is very bad. I live in Europe.
Okay.
I want to just ask a question. Like, I don't know if for her I'm doing a question for festival. I've been at the festival. What's the problem? Because my kids, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Dahalak.
Okay, my name is Sahalak. I've been at the festival like with my kids because you know all the kids each other, they see each other there, our culture and everything. And then the another side, you guys you say you have to close like the festival and everything. How we can see our culture for the kids where, but I don't see any problem because of you going to festival. Yeah.
So
we have to discuss each other, Eritrean together. Like I know it's two parties, Eritrean is higdef and Yaakov. We have to discuss together, like to change everything up together because I don't see any problem about the festival because if they see also the festival they do Tigray, I'm so happy because we see each other in just one love. What's the problem? I'll just this question for her.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dahalak. And then she will answer. And then let me get this phone call. Now you can answer both of them. Okay.
For me, the problem is that the festival is.
I see the festival. You know, it's not just now. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay. So do you want to say a minute because she might answer you, and then if you have anything to say, okay, go ahead. Also.
Yeah.
Yes, the problem I see with the festival is that it's arranged by the regime in Eritrea, which, in my opinion, is a horrible regime forcing people to flee the country. And they should not be allowed to act in Sweden. And then I understand that some people who go there go for, as I said before, for a fun day with the kids. But while doing that, you also support the regime, and that's not right. Not the same regime that forced you to flee, to go and celebrate together with them. I cannot understand how that could be correct. But then you live in a free country if you live in Sweden. You're more than welcome to organize a festival. There's many Eritreans here. I'm sure if you go together, you could also arrange a good festival. Or you meet up and go to a public place instead. Go to Gröna Lund or another amusement park. Decide a date and you go there together. But to celebrate together with the oppressors, that's not good, according to me.
Dahalak, if may I ask a question? You know, how long you been living in Sweden? Have you been forced to leave the country, or you've been? Can you share a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind? Are you there, Dahalak? Okay, Dahalak.
Can I just?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I was asking a question, if you don't mind.
I know. I want to just tell her like example. Anywhere we go a concert. Yes. Yeah, I hear you. You hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I know she's saying. I hear you.
I hear you.
Go ahead. Continue.
You hear me?
Yes, go ahead. Continue. Yes, make your statement. Can you remove the TV or there is another audio coming out? Maybe you have YouTube or whatever.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sure. I'm saying just any concert we go everywhere. Like they invite me also the concert like from Sweden and anywhere. For music, it's not the problem. It's not this coming. It's a support.
Sorry, you just get disconnected, I guess.
To accept, press 1.
So you just get disconnected. Let me get another phone, okay? Hello?
Hello?
Yes. State your name and put your question. Okay. Okay, go ahead, sir. Can you mute it down or?
Hello?
Hello, go ahead. Ask your question, please.
Okay. So my name is Seyum Gabramaden from Stockholm.
Okay.
Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Seyum. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So basically, the government here has been infiltrating the churches as well.
Okay.
So I just talked to a friend of mine yesterday, and they just expelled a lot of priests from the church in Gothenburg.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to get a local which can be used as a church.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it was, and this is very common in the church in Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
So are you aware of this fact in Sweden?
Okay. Did you get the question, Åsa?
No, not really. It was a
Okay,
in Gothenburg, or?
Yeah, what he was saying was, maybe if you didn't, you didn't hear it. So there is a church in Gothenburg, and then the PFDJ infiltrated the church and were expelling a lot of priests and deacons because they want to control the church as well. So his question was, do you know about this thing? Have you heard about this? And he was saying,
heard about it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I haven't.
You haven't heard about it?
No.
Yeah. Go ahead, Siyum, if you want to add something. She said that she didn't hear about it.
Yes, right. I think it's about time to look into these things as well. I mean, there was some scandal a few years ago where some priests, the dictator supporters priests in Stockholm, were expressed their support for the dictator in P8 in the radio, and I mean there are a lot of infiltrations across all the churches in Sweden. So it's something to be looked at.
Yeah, thank you for raising the issue. It sounds bad.
Thank you, Siyum, and giving another assignment to Åsa, which she already is doing so much. But I mean, this is very common for the regime. It's not only in Sweden; it's just all over the world. What they do is they infiltrate everywhere. You know, they try to politicize the church, especially the Orthodox Church. Probably you may know about this one, and that's something also driving a lot of Eritreans from their church.
Yeah, and that's the sense. I mean, democracies are weak that way. That if you have an open society and an open organization, it can be easy to infiltrate. So everyone who's active needs to take their democratic tasks seriously and work against people.
Okay, let me get another call. I got some from England, okay?
Yeah, then I think I actually have to leave. I'm sorry.
Okay, all right, okay.
Let's take one more. One more,
and then we'll finish for today, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we'll take this question and then we'll finish for the day, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you, Åsa.
Thank you.
Hello? Yeah, can you say, can you turn off your, can you turn off the, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you turn off something is making noise?
I'll try, okay.
Okay, I think there's another noise coming from his car or whatever. But again, you know, I just want to ask you one more question and we'll finish today because you've been doing an amazing job. And as you say, a lot of Eritreans also behind you. What should we do? I mean, for next year? I mean, I'm sure that the PFDJ is going to come also next year. And then so many people think that the preparation was a little too late to stop or make a successful interruption of the festival. So what do you think should the Eritreans do to...
I think for next year, it might make sense to try to organize a democratic festival, to have in the vicinity, to give people a chance to choose something else. Not only to say no, but actually offer another festival would be a very good thing. Might also make sense to get some journalists like well-established journalists from major newspapers inside and make them cover the event to see what happens and see with their own eyes. Because we had troubles getting newspapers to write about the topic. So we need to get them interested beforehand, I think. And then also, I think, since we have a new election, when there's a new parliament in place, we should visit like all the parties in the parliament and form a Eritrea group in the parliament who can lobby for a democratic Eritrea from within the political system. Because I'm sure there's good people in all parties who stand up for democracy, or in almost all parties.
All right, Åsa. So he's back again. So we'll take him and then we'll finish, okay, for today.
Yeah.
All right. So go ahead, Dave. Introduce your name and ask your question, okay?
Yeah. My name is David. Also, I am living in Norway, Eritrea. So I can try to speak to Norwegian language. Jag heter David och också jag bor i Norge. Det är Sam. Vad sa du?
Go ahead, continue, Dave. She's listening.
Ja. Jag heter David och också jag bor i Norge. I 2019 det var Eritreas festival som heter Sawa-festival i Oslo. Också i den tiden det kommer Eritreas utbildningsminister som firar i Oslo. I den tiden det var inte så stor festival som Eritreas Swedish festival, men det är lite mindre. I den tiden det var lite rart också. Någon från Eritrea de miste norsk pass också som någon papper i Norge. Har du tänkt något så också i Sverige som samma shit?
Det låter inspirerande att ni har blivit av med festivalen, så att det är väl jättebra om vi kan titta om de eritreanska aktivister som finns i Sverige kan ta hjälp av er och se hur ni jobbade. Så är det jättebra ju, om man lär av varandra.
Lina, du vet, i Norge de firar inte festivalen, men i Sverige de firar vart år Eritreas festival i Sverige. Så vi där samarbetar med Eritreas som står mot diktatoren. Det kan sluta i framtiden.
Det låter jättebra. Sorry for speaking Swedish.
No, that's okay. All right, Dave. I think she got your question. You got the questions, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I think probably we need to learn some Swedish and
some Scandinavian, yes.
Scandinavian language so that we can.
No, but the main message was that they succeeded with some things in Norway, and we need to learn from them.
Yes, definitely and they did succeed.
Of course.
Yes, definitely they did. So also, I mean, I do not have a word to thank you for all the service you donated, and also for coming out. You know, this is something special for me, for Erisat, and then also for my people. I'm sure that I'm sure that you know.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and this is, by the way, is going to go to Eritrea, and then you know we have a satellite television. We also broadcast to Eritrea, and then I'm sure you know our people in Eritrea would be delighted to have friends like you. We know that there are a lot of people who stand for the Eritrean people. There are a lot of foreigners who know the suffering of my people. So this means a lot. And then I can assure you, you are standing on the right side of history. And then things will pass, and then you will be remembered, you know, by the Eritrean people. And hopefully, we'll have this festival back home, and you come and celebrate with us, as you say in your Facebook page. You will dance all night long, and then we would love to have that, you know, like not in Sweden, but in our back home. Having you as honorable guest. Thank you.
Thank you for all the work you do. I know it's so important that you send TV into Eritrea. They need all the information they can have. And we're in this fight together, and I was very happy to join the TV show. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Åsa. Thank you very much. Looking
Bye-bye.
forward to seeing you another time with another thing, okay?
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you. Bye.